And now, aviation weather around Alaska. Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska aviation weather outlook on this Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. And as we go into this weekend, the weather pattern, well, at least we got through the remnants there of Typhoon Ample that came up into the west side of the state, and since by Friday morning will be what's left of that up in the Beaufort Sea Arctic Ocean. In the wake of the system, though, we have more of a west-northwest flow of air steering the weather systems here for the weekend. So we're going to get a couple of impulses working their way through. Right now on this Thursday, we have a secondary system not as strong as the remnants of Ample that is going to come into Norton Sound, the Seward Peninsula, bringing some additional areas of rain or rain showers and some gusty winds. It's behind that we'll start to see some cooler air invade areas of the west coast. And then over the weekend, another system, more so at the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, is going to drive some colder air southeastward. In fact, with that system, it's going to keep the threat of numerous showers or some areas of rain going here across the interior, especially along and north and west of the Alaska Range, eventually spilling southeastward. Also, with the colder air coming in down off the Arctic Ocean Chukchi Sea, we also, with at least over the course of the weekend, later Saturday, early Sunday, could see some accumulating snow, higher elevations, North Slope and around the Brooks Range. So definitely a change toward more of a fall-like pattern. On Friday morning, we expect widespread IFR along Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, Yukon, Kuskokwim deltas, and then out across much of the Bering into the central western Aleutians. Friday afternoon, we could have some areas of IFR along the confluence there, the Tanana, Yukon rivers along the northwest side here of the Alaska Range, and then just off of the southwest coast, off of the Yukon Delta, as well as Bristol and Kuskokwim Bays. Widespread MVFR conditions expected Friday afternoon over the Gulf and out in through areas of the Panhandle. Some rain will be moving through southern areas. Up here, though, across much of the interior, we have areas of rain and rain showers with cooler temperatures. Saturday morning, we find IFR conditions along the northern Gulf Coast, rather extensive areas of MVFR conditions across much of the mainland. Widespread IFR over the Bering Sea, north side of the Alaska Peninsula and central and eastern Aleutians. For Saturday afternoon, here comes that hint of the next push of colder air. And again, there will be some snow with that for Saturday night and early Sunday out here through areas of the Brooks Range, so keep that in mind. We still have areas of MVFR conditions Saturday afternoon throughout the southwest interior. Along the Alaska Range, there are going to be areas of lower ceilings and rain showers. An area of IFR persists out over the northern Gulf. So pass conditions on Friday and at Tuvik Pass generally just stay MVFR, and that'll be the case for Adigan Pass. But again, later this weekend, as we get into Saturday night, especially on Sunday, there could likely be some snow and lower ceilings in areas of the Brooks Range. For Lake Clark and Merrill, generally MVFR conditions all up along the west and central portion of the Alaska Range. Rainy Pass may actually become IFR in the afternoon as some of that moisture spills over the mountain. We have a chance of showers. Windy Pass, MVFR becoming IFR as we go through Friday afternoon, evening. Isabel Pass, generally MVFR conditions. Mentasta Pass may start out the morning VFR but become MVFR during the afternoon. Tanita Pass will likely hold on to VFR conditions during the day Friday. Same thing for Portage Pass. And then across the northern portion of the Panhandle there at Chilkoot and White, MVFR conditions are anticipated. So looking at the pattern, we finally have a broader sense of trough across much of the state back through the northern Bering. If you recall, we had that warmer ridge last week that gave the warmer temperatures out across areas of the southeastern third of the mainland into the Panhandle. That's broken down. So we're having a couple of more impulses within the flow aloft that is going to draw down some colder air here through the weekend, bringing more of a fall and occasionally wet pattern. The warmer freezing levels aloft have been pushed southward, down generally south of the Alaska Peninsula into the North Pacific, where we still have freezing levels above 12 and 14,000 feet. We call this area here is a stronger baroclinicity, and this is where you have a greater temperature contrast over a north-south distance or a horizontal distance, and that's where you're going to find the stronger winds aloft, such as the jet stream. I'll show you that in a minute. But with this lingering moisture, areas of rain in most areas, of course, you get higher up in elevation. There could be some little bit of light snow in the Brooks Range as well as along the Alaska Range. But in the far north along the Brooks Range and the North Slope, we find some areas of moderate icing above 3,000 feet. And then across much of the western interior and along and just north of the Alaska Range, above 5,000 feet, some moderate icing there in the clouds and where there are areas of precipitation. So here we find, look at the jet stream here out over the lower Gulf back toward the Alaska Peninsula. We have a jet core, west-northwest jet core up to 130 knots here out across the lower Gulf. And then we find broader troughiness here across the mainland and areas to the north. And if we bring it down to 9,000 feet, 700 millibars, we see that stripe of strong mid-level winds, 50 to 60 knots out of the northwest. As we pull back across the southeastern bearing, we find 30 to 35 knot northwesterly winds. And then bringing it down to 3,000 feet, we find some near gale force winds here, entrance of Cook Inlet and just south of the Kenai Peninsula in the southwestern Gulf, also across parts of through the gaps here in the Alaska Peninsula, and then generally along the west side of the state, still some areas of 25 to 30 knot, generally north-northwest flow. At least this time around, I didn't really paint any moderate turbulence. It's been a very turbulent week with the three weather systems that came through since a week ago. And in the wake of all this, we still find some perhaps isolated moderate turbulence in areas of the southwest interior along the YK Delta into Bristol Bay, northern part of the Alaska Peninsula, as I said, Kamishak Bay, entrance of Cook Inlet, back out here in the eastern Aleutians, surface to 3,000 feet, and then one very small pocket just off of Kaktovik, surface to 3,000 feet.